It might seem like a really good idea to take a large amount of money, as in 50K, 100K, or even more than that, and just put that into an IUL upfront so that the money grows faster. But there is a really big problem that happens when you do that. This problem that I'm going to walk you through and explain, some insurance agents that are primarily focused on money and aren't focused on helping people will not tell you about this major problem, because if they do, it'll take money out of their commission and their pockets. I'm sharing a video that I shared with a potential client who was convinced that it was a good idea to do this. I had to do this breakdown and explain what the problem is, why it was not a good idea in her particular case, and when it might be a good idea. But before I get into it, if this is the first time that we are meeting, my name is Nobu. I help working professionals 40 and over save more while beating Uncle Sam when paying less taxes by leveraging cash value life insurance like an IUL. If you are interested in working with me to open your IUL, check out the link in the comments. Let's get started.
I want to first start off by saying, if you are hell-bent on getting this IUL and putting that 100K into it, somebody will probably do it for you because they will get a very large commission for doing so, around 20K. But I want to show you the numbers just so whenever you're talking to somebody, whatever you decide to do, you are aware of what the implications are for starting that IUL with the 100K versus waiting till you know what your numbers look like after you get that property and then building one out after that. But before I get into the numbers, I want to just make sure that we're on the same page about what the benefits are for an IUL. Benefit number one, whenever you are putting money into your IUL, we talked about this a little bit on Monday, your money is partitioned into two parts. First part pays for your life insurance. Anything above and beyond that goes into your cash bucket. Anything in that cash bucket is going to grow faster than if we're in a bank, because the interest is going to be based on how well the stock market is doing, right? Stock market generally performs pretty well, but on the years that the stock market dips, your money is going to stay the same. So you're not going to have like a negative return, as opposed to if you were placing that money into the stock market directly. Benefit number two is that that money is going to grow in that cash bucket tax-free. So if you took that money and put it into the stock market directly, you'll be paying capital gains. So any money that grows in the stock market, you pay capital gains taxes. Any money that grows in an insurance policy, a cash value insurance policy like an IUL, the IRS does not tax that at all, regardless of how much interest grows in that account. Benefit number three is that you can access those funds tax-free depending on a few things, right? So there are some rules in place. So it's not that any money that you take out of an insurance policy is going to be tax-free. There have to be rules and regulations that have to be followed in order for you to be able to access those funds tax-free. And then benefit number four is that at the point of your death, whatever is left for your beneficiary, all those funds are going to be tax-free for them as well. So those are the four major benefits of using a cash value life insurance to save money into, essentially. Now, in order for you to keep these benefits, these tax-free benefits, specifically on the growth and the access part, there are rules that have to be followed that the IRS has in place in order for you to do that. And so you can't just put any amount into this policy. There is a cap of how much you can put in, and what that cap is based on is how much insurance you're purchasing at the time that you open this policy. And once you get over that max, you're going to get taxed on any money that grows, and you're going to get taxed anytime you take money out of that account. Now, depending on how much insurance you're purchasing initially, that's going to determine what your max is for that account. If you're going to be doing a lump sum into an IUL, it generally doesn't work because you end up buying way more insurance than you actually need. Normally, if people are doing a lump sum payment into a cash value policy, it's going to be into a whole life policy, a variation of a whole life policy, but it wouldn't work if you're trying to take money out. But if you say, okay, I want to get this IUL no matter what, I want to just do this one-time payment, what is going to happen is that you are going to run out of money, right? So if you put in 100K and you only put in 100K and that's it, it's just based on being a 47-year-old female, the cost of your insurance every year will be $12,000. Now, with an IUL, like with any permanent policy, you're always paying for insurance until you pay it up. And so whatever this amount is that you start with, that's going to determine how much your cost is. And this cost goes up as the older that you get. So generally you want this start payment to be pretty close to what you're going to be putting in after that in order for you to have enough money built out in there. So by the time you stop putting money in, there's plenty of money in your cash bucket to pay for your life insurance. So the numbers on 100K as a one-time payment is your insurance would be $12,000 on the first year and go up each year little by little. In year 5, you'll only have $51,000 in your cash bucket. And in year 10, you'd have $43,000. And by the time that you're 67, you won't have any money at all. So if you move forward with doing this 100K IUL one-time payment thing, by the time that you realize that it's not working the way that it's supposed to, somebody would have already made their commission and you will be out a ton of money because you would have lost money as opposed to gaining money. And primary reason is that your cost of insurance is way too high based on this 100K. So by age 67, you would have $0 in your cash bucket and you would have to chunk in like however much the insurance is at that point, which would be more than $12,000 at that point. And if not, then your 100K has gone down the drain, essentially, which is not what we want. In order for it to make it work, the minimum that you'd want to put in addition to the $100,000 would be $25,000 a year for 8 years. So first year 100K, next 8 years, 25K a year. That would be like the bare minimum that you'd want to put in order for your policy to not lapse, right? In order for you to not run out of money over time. I still would not recommend that. If you're doing an IUL, you generally don't want it to be minimally funded. You want it to be as full as possible. So think of your IUL like a bucket, right? You can put your bucket at 25%. You can put it at 100. You want it at 100 because the sooner you fund it at 100, the longer you have for that money to grow and the more money you're going to have in the long term. So this is an option that would work, the 100/25K. I don't recommend that. If you're going to do an IUL, you might as well max fund it in order for it to perform the best for you. Now, if on the other hand, you take $25,000 and then you put that in over 7 years, so 25K over 7 years, your cost of insurance would now be $4,000. On this second one, the cost of insurance is still $12,000 because this 100K that you're starting with is what's going to determine the cost of your insurance. So 25K, your cost of insurance would be $4,000. In 5 years, you'd have 115K. And then in 10 years, you'd have 213K. So you've put in way less than this middle number here, but because your cost of insurance is not like way up here, your funds are growing at a pretty decent rate, which means that your IUL has a better chance of actually making it. But the most important part is you are not paying a ton of life insurance. That defeats the purpose. So with an IUL, you want to pay as little life insurance as possible and put as much money as possible into that cash bucket. So that bucket is at 100% as opposed to 25%. So like I said, my recommendation for you would be to purchase your property. Do not put your 100K into an IUL. Purchase your property, see how much you have after you've closed, after you've put away your CapEx money, see how much you have on hand in cash, plus how much you have in discretionary income to put in on a regular basis. And then from there, build something out where for your next property or the next few properties, you have an extra bucket of cash in here. That you can pull money out. And this 25K isn't the max you can put in. You'll be able to put in a little bit more than this, but it wouldn't be up to 100K. But again, everything is customizable, but generally you don't want to do a huge lump sum payment if your following payments are not going to be as high as that first one. Hopefully this clears up a little bit. If I don't know if the person that you said had put 100K, somebody that you know personally, but talk to them and see what they did. They definitely didn't do just one payment. There are other payments after that. And hopefully whoever did it, did not, do it like this, where the bare minimum is what's going in after that. Because yes, that'll work, but it's not the best way to do this.
Now, the account setup and how much you are putting in and how strategically you're doing that is absolutely important. But something else that is equally important that'll make or break your account is time. In this video, I'm going to walk you through what I mean by that exactly and how too much or too little time can make or break your IUL. I'll see you there.